What is exactly CI? What is CD, and how does the company uses them?
I would say the concept as a golden pipeline concept. Most of these adoptions, there's no such standardization, no such clear ownership of the things, no real process thinking. It's not a technical shift, it's primarily a mindset shift.
Have you seen some instance where the GitOps actually fail or even create problems when you start scaling it?
We are considering Git repo as a source of truth. So that can also give us a false confidence on that green state that the things are synced. The reports are getting published on SonarQube, but no one is reading them. Shockingly common as well that we usually found the hard-coded secrets in the code base. The 5% traffic that is coming in, did it increase my error rate?
The most legacy tool is Jenkins.
The boring production should be your goal. Any sort of excitement in production is a bad sign.
Welcome back to Techie Talks with Kuldeep. I am your host Kuldeep Singh. Today we are excited to have Mr. Sajal Jain with us. Mr. Sajal Jain has started his career as a system administrator and then moved to the DevOps space. He brings decades plus years of the experience in the industry. Specifically, we are going to talk about the CI/CD, which is core of the DevOps and the SRE practices. Sajal, welcome to the show.
Hey, hi Kuldeep. Thanks for inviting me for this discussion. I'm really happy to be here, and yeah, excited as well. What's been coming up when we talk about like DevOps and core of DevOps stuff. So it's really great to be here.
Good that you have started yourself as a traditional system administrator, and now you are working on like massive these cloud setup. Maybe for an engineer who is just trying to move that same move which you did like a couple of years back, what is the biggest mindset change which you will suggest to them that they should make while doing this career switch?
Yes. So you actually uh, mention it right. So see, it's not a technical shift, it's primarily a mindset shift that you just mentioned. So like say being the system admin, the primary responsibility you have is something like you know everything about your servers. Say you know the host name of the servers. I mean, to be very surprisingly, even the IP address were on my fingertips when I talk about my face. So there, I mean, few important IP address were also on my fingertips. How the disk has been laid out, what cron jobs are running, what operating systems we are using. But like if I talk about DevOps, especially at scale, this sort of attachment with your infrastructure somehow becomes a liability. So the moment I started treating my infrastructure as ephemeral, means it can be disposable, it is something like temporary or replaceable. Everything has changed in terms of thinking or seeing the things, or I would say in single word, a mindset. So say if any of your machine is misbehaving, if your configurations are misbehaving, you just don't need to log in into the server, do the SSH, do the fixes. You just simply terminate it and you let your code rebuild it. So that is something I'm talking about ephemeral. And say primarily it's not about, I mean, nowadays it's not about managing machines. It's primarily about managing your running or managing a purpose. Like you're serving your customers, not, I mean, now how your application, how your product is behaving to your real customers, that actually matters. I mean, that is something matters. So how you are running in the backend. So yeah, that is important, but not with a sysadmin mindset, right? So this is something like how I mean, let me share one more instance. I mean, so back in those days, we used to have deployments, so usually considered as an event. So teams are careful, teams are nervous, but right now, adopting for the DevOps methodologies, having the streamlined pipelines in place, so things have become so repeatable. I would rather say so boring that it actually stops being an event altogether.
You are right, and I think that was like the biggest change which DevOps brought in.
Yeah.
This term even became like the most important, which call it as like CI and CD. So for someone who is just getting into this place, could you explain it a bit? What is exactly CI? What is CD, and how does the company uses them?
I would say we should not be taking as a tool. It should be a whole process. So CI, it's a continuous integration. With CD, we mean continuous deployment and delivery as well. So it's a kind of a like how you create the pipeline, how you create the process. So like uh, see, a developer's job is to develop the code, to build the product, to write the logic in with respect to your applications. So their job should be only to push the code into their application repository. Now, from there, the role of DevOps comes into the picture, right? Now, how you are taking that code, what you are doing with that code in terms of analysis of that code, in terms of scanning of that code, that analysis could be like how your code quality is. That is a kind of static code analysis. How you are scanning your code, so like to find out vulnerabilities in your systems or the vulnerability in your code. So if there's something critical, how you are making your decisions on top of it. Then creating a build out of that code. So say whether it could be some uh, virtual machine based systems like using Maven or npm to create the builds out of it, or to for the new age systems like having a container that will be running on your Kubernetes system. So it's a kind of multiple blocks like code checkout, code scanning, artifact generation, artifact registry. So you actually combine all those pieces into a form of a pipeline. So that is something we usually refer to as continuous integration. We are integrating different blocks. Also, just like say you can take it as a Lego blocks. You're joining those Lego blocks to create a train. And then this is part on the CI. I would not say there's some standards around CI. Okay, these are the 5 stages should be in the CI. That is something usually people adopt as per their requirement, as per their need. And then comes deployment into the picture. So once you have your application artifact to be released, whether it could be a lower environment or the higher or production environment. So how you take that new artifact into your running systems. So with deployment also there comes different ways like whether you can incorporate a downtime or you don't need any downtime in your systems, or is it only stateless application release that you are doing, or you are handling states as well, like in terms of database updates along with. So and that comes into the CD part, spontaneous delivery, and whether you are promoting the build to higher environments and then having some sort of manual approval before taking that application to your real users, like in the production environment. So if you're having some manual gates around that for the approval, so how you usually deploy your application.
No, this is right, and we have seen the companies has started growing these practices, but now the another problem starts, right? As we say in the IT, one problem got resolved, then has introduced the another problem. We have dozen of microservices. We do have dozen of developers, smaller development teams, which are creating pipeline for every single service because they are maintaining it. So from the DevOps or from the SRE perspective, how do you build that single reusable pipeline template or component that all the developers can use easily within a company itself?
I mean, yeah, when we talk about scale, so like initially, when we used to have monolith application, we don't used to have a large, I mean, so much use by a bunch of applications to manage. So there was, I mean, in the monolith era, so there was only one or say two applications to manage. So, but now since we are growing with the microservice architecture, it is possible, but not practically a best practice to have a pipeline defined for each of the component separately. So what here I would say this is one of the most underrated architectural problems that we have in DevOps. So that we use to deal with and we use to streamline this sort of issue by I would say the concept as a golden pipeline concept. So say it's something like, I mean, the idea behind it is simple. Like you have one master pipeline with you, that template handles the entire cycle that we just talked about, right? From the developer code push to having that application into your real production environments. So whether it could be the build stage, it could be the testing stage, or scanning, pushing your artifact to your registry, deploying it, and having a validation checks as well if you are deploying whatever you have deployed is running fine. So I mean, this whole cycle, or say all for the whole Lego blocks, you can primarily simply define a golden pipeline that you can reuse, that lives in your repository, just like application code for the developers. So you can, I mean, yeah, I mean, not going specifically with any tool, but like if you go with Jenkins, you can have a shared library. If you're going with GitHub Actions, you can have you can have those golden templates with you in the pipelines. So tool can be anything, but yes, the concept remains the same. That okay, I'll be creating a template structure for it, and I'll be reusing it. Now, see, one thing is it eases out, or say it brings a standardization in your implementation. Second thing is, say, if you need to perform a small update, say your ECR or say your registry endpoint has changed. So you have migrated your registry. Now, if you go and update in each of the pipeline, that will be an error prone, that will take time, that will be a fatigue process. But yes, in this golden template or golden pipeline approach, you just did one change. And that change can be inherited by all the pipelines, or say all the wrapper code that is using your say golden template.
Yeah.
So that's how we used to perform this. I mean, just came into my mind that it's not just solving your standardization problem or having a golden pipeline problem. It's actually helping me out in one of the problem into the industry, that is primarily, I would say, a kind of separation of concerns. So, I mean, the role of your development team is to just build the application logic, to build the product and push your code. And the concern of the DevOps team is to handle that code post the developer pushes it into Git repository. So from the point the code is available in the application repository till the point it goes live. So that's how these two ownerships have been also clearly defined. And say, I mean, in this, when we have such standardization in place, so I would not say get no one out there is reinventing the wheel every time a new service comes into the picture. So they are primarily using the same golden pipeline. So
That's very much important, specifically when you grow, and that's is where the concept of having a separate configuration file. That's how you can enable the team so that they just go ahead and changes those configuration, and the changes merged into the main branch. But in the CD space, right? So we used to call it continuous delivery and continuous deployment. Then two terms became very famous. One was the GitOps, and then like the tools ArgoCD became kind of synonyms, right? Anyone was saying GitOps, it meant like ArgoCD because it has also become very popular. But since you are working on the ground, have you seen some instance where the GitOps actually fail or even create problems when you start scaling it?
yeah. So I just in the initial of this call, I mentioned one term that DevOps are opting for tools because they are fancy or modern. So GitOps is one of that. But yes, with GitOps, I would say it's generally changed how we think about the deployments. It's, I mean, like just like for the application code, say we are considering Git as a single source of truth. With GitOps into the DevOps lifecycle, it's a similar kind of concept where we are actually defining our state of the, I would say, desired state of our infrastructure, our pipelines into a Git repository. But yeah, there's obviously a gap between the conference version of GitOps versus the real production implementation. Now, yeah, I too have faced a few uh, failures where, I mean, not failures, it's more about standardization. If we don't follow standardizations or we don't have workarounds with them, so we can have some problems around with GitOps. Primarily, I had experience now ArgoCD. The first thing is you say database migrations. So like Um, this is one of the painful area. So like Argo beautifully manages how I used to deploy my applications, right? So it is primarily taking the source of truth from Git and updating my existing Kubernetes state accordingly. But when it comes to the database schema updates, whether I need to say order few tables or adding new columns, there's no exactly clean way to handle it with Argo or with GitOps. Now, what we used to do is work around with that, like going with the init containers that is handling my database migrations or doing that thing manually. So yeah, we opted for a manual out there. So let's handle database manually. And but that is exactly what we are doing, broking the core promise of GitOps. So Git is something I can't consider as a source of truth in this case. Yeah, there's one more instance that we faced during the late night hours. There was some issue that came up, and we need to fix some emergency hot fixes.
Mhm.
And with production, when your real users are impacting, you don't have time to have a git commit, to raise a pull request, to have a review around it. The primary concern is to get the things up and running. Right. So in that case, we used to do fixes on the real working, real production environment, and say if we don't log that change or we don't push those changes back into our GitOps. Now, since GitOps is the source of truth for my infrastructure, the next time it sync our infrastructure or say the configuration, it actually rolled back that hotfix that we just implemented and having a good sleep out there. So that is another case. And yeah, I mean, again, the same thing, if we are considering Git repo as a source of truth. So that can also give us a false confidence on that green state that the things are synced. Let's take a case. I mean, if um, if sync only matches, say it is currently running the system that you have configured, the infrastructure or your CI or your CD, uh, it is considering Git as the source of truth. So it doesn't know whether what is there in the Git is correct or not. It will just go and implement it. Say someone someone did a wrong push out there in the Git repository, and say whatever that was perfectly synced can be perfectly broken at the same time. So these are the challenges. But yes, it's not something uh, on the negative side. But the whole recommendation out there is like you follow GitOps. It is really great, excellent. But when you are when you have a culture that follows the standards religiously, your system is stateless. Your deployment usually has no exceptions or any manual intervention. So, like the moment you introduces these, like human judgment or urgency, you should have a clear plan around that, like how to handle those outside this happy path of GitOps.
Yeah. No, you are right, and that's why we have seen like why the CI/CD has become this much important. Tell me one more interesting thing, and
Yeah,
since your profile now says even DevSecOps engineer, based on my
right.
interaction with the engineers, usually the security is just a checkbox which they are doing before releasing. What are like top two or three must have which you will suggest that you should do before code goes to production, and which you also do uses them on the daily basis?
You mentioned right, yeah. When there's still a mindset running out, okay, let's have those checkboxes in place when we are setting it up, but that should not that should not be a real practice actually. And say we used to have Sonar Cube checkboxes. Okay, the reports are getting published on Sonar Cube, but no one is reading them. You are generating n number of JSON reports, but no one is seeing them. So it's like it has to be enforced. I mean, the first thing that I think is uh, security should not be informative. It should be reported. It should be blocking the things. Only then there is a primary purpose of introducing security. And like we have heard of the concept like shift left. I mean, it's not just shift left. I would recommend the security should be from the root itself, like from the developer's machine itself. It should not get introduced in the pipeline stages, it should start from the developer's machine itself. Now, see, the first thing, what I have noticed is, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but shockingly common as well, that we usually found the hard-coded secrets in the code base, right? So, I mean, that could be by mistake, that could be like from the very initial stage, someone has pushed it, suppose that we are now handling it, but say, since Git, no one can challenge a Git's memory. Now, once anything is pulled into Git memory, even if you delete it, it remains in that commit history, right? Git never forgets anything. So the right place to catch the security clause is right from the developer's machine itself. So the first thing, I would say, there should be no hard-coded secrets committed into the Git repository. Now that can be something we can, I mean, right now we are using a lot of IDEs, a lot of tooling around that can do a scan of my code on my machine itself before pushing it to GitHub. So we can use those extensions, or we can use some sort of pre-commit hooks as well in our Git repositories that can use some sort of Git leaks or detect secrets that can flag those secrets and in fact block your commit into your Git repository. But yes, just in case if you don't have that, the absolute minimum what I consider is that your pipeline should have those secret scanning in place. So, I mean, that too not with a warning or reporting scenario, that should be a failure. That should be blocking your deployment completely because, say, once a Git secret reaches the Git history, it will always remain there. And I know the pain of reverting or cleaning up that Git history. So, I had a scenario previously where I was actually cleaning up those Git repository. I cleaned those previous commits using, say, PGF, PFG cleaner tool. But the biggest challenge is until and unless the developers don't rebase their repository back with their current state, it will again, I mean, the commit history again get rebuilt with any a single push from a single developer. So that is a very painful activity to clean up your Git repository. So this is the first thing. And second thing, I would say it could be a two-part lock. So, like in our CI pipelines, we used to build our artifact, right? So, say, I'm taking a case of a application, container-based application. So, when we build our image, container image, it should be scanned thoroughly. So, we can go with any tool, but yeah, I like Trivy. It's a pretty simple one, and it got integrated in my pipeline. It is scanning my Docker images before pushing to the ECR repository. Now, for critical vulnerabilities, again, it should not be just reporting. Your pipeline should be halting at that point. And once you, I mean, that's just not the only thing that you're scanning your image or ensuring that it is not vulnerable. The second thing is the image that you're deploying in your running environments, in Kubernetes, the image that you are running, are you making sure that is coming from a authenticated source, right? So there's no actual benefit of a scanning the image if someone can deploy any image in Kubernetes. So that's why I said it is a two-part lock for me. Scan your image for vulnerabilities and ensure that your signed image are deployed in Kubernetes. So scanning is done in your pipeline, but in Kubernetes as well, you should be having some sort of say admission controllers like Kyverno. So the role of that is to ensure that any image that is getting pulled in your Kubernetes cluster is a signed image by your official CI pipeline. So you can have some sort of cosign or something that can actually sign your image, and in Kubernetes it will be checked that it is a signed image coming in. So yes, these are the 2 or 3 things that is bare minimum for me. Apart from that, having SAST or say dependency scanning or SBOM generation, I would say these are important ones. But if I going to pick something that I can't go ahead with, is these 2 things primarily.
No, you are right. And see, nowadays, the security attack surface has also increased due to these agents and all it is. becoming very easy. So I would go with that. Hey, even if in the past you would have thought those were just check mark, please take a look because security issues are really coming up critically. Great, Sajal. So one thing which I have also seen it is yes, we are able to move forward very quickly. We are able to deploy, but one aspect of the CI/CD was to automatic even the rollback, right? So even in case you have to roll back, but I still see, the teams are very terrified to, go back and roll back in the production system. How do you like safely set up a system where code rollbacks on its own, if even if like a deployment fails due to any reason?
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. So automatic rollbacks are the kind of terrifying. When
Mhm.
even, I mean, when you are doing it for the first time, you don't have confidence around it if you have not tested it. So these are really terrifying. The reason behind that is that concern if it roll back something that it shouldn't. So, I mean, the standard answer that I want to give here is like you can go ahead with, I mean, like with deployments you can have different strategies available like Canary or blue green. But yes, with Canary you can have it pretty confidently. Like say the new version that you are deploying into your production that is not exactly reaching out to 100% of your customers, or 100% of traffic is not coming on to that new release. So here's what I recommend: to have two things in place, have Canary deployment, so that new version is just getting 5% of traffic. Now the thing is, you should also be monitoring it. Like the 5% traffic that is coming in, did it increase my error rate? Did it increase my latency in the application? So this actually goes in parallel. Now, as soon as you have 5% update with the newer version, you can go and check. Okay, did it increase 2% in the error rate or any business KPI if you have instrumented? Those have those are started showing anomaly. If not, you can go ahead with 25%, then to 50%. But yes, at any stage, if your error or latency or any business KPIs breaching the threshold, you can have that logic to roll it back to the previous running safe version. But yes, if everything seems fine, then yes, you can go ahead with 100%. But yeah, the two things, two prerequisites, I would say the first thing is your baseline metrics should be stable. Now, say you're already experiencing spikes in latency, or you're already experiencing high error rate, then you can't exactly find out whether it's a real scenario that is being going on or it is because of a new deployment. You will just end up with incorrectly blaming your deployment and rolling it back. So that is the first prerequisite, that you should have a stable baseline, stable metrics when you are going for deployment. The second thing is, don't directly do it into the production. If you are, the first thing is you need to build up a confidence, right? So either do it in a lower environment, or do a rehearsed drill. I mean, just simulate an environment, considering it as a production, do some load testing on top of it, and then do this rollback testing. So it could be something like having an internal game day, or kind of a bounty activity that is being running around, and so that you can at least build up a confidence first on it.
That-
So once you have confidence, build up confidence, then yeah, you can practice this rollbacks that I mean that you yourself trust.
No, you are right, and anything is all about the preparation. If you have done the changes, you have captured them properly. I think it's okay even to go back to that same version. But if you are not sure and you are managing some part manually, some part automated, that's where it brings lots of concern. So from the
Right.
CI/CD market perspective, and the how the maturity we started measuring, there were like the DORA metrics, right? That becomes kind of the very popular, which the team has started adopting it. But like let's say I'm just starting it out, right? what is, the one metric which I should track basically, to get, the most value until I'm like operating on all those metrics?
Okay. So, yeah, DORA metrics, and I mean, yeah, we have different kind of it, like deployment frequency rate, how's the lead time for change. But for me, change failure rate is something I consider to be the most critical metric. I mean, that even that could be one single metric that gives the most value when we talk about DORA metrics. I mean, the reason is say deployment frequency I can play with, right? For every small commit, I can do a deployment. I can say, okay, and this is the frequency that we are ending in terms of number of deployments getting there in every day or every week or month.
Mm.
Same it goes with the lead time change. So, I mean, for that exactly you need a very strong time tracking. So every time should be tracked religiously to have you the real numbers. And the recovery time, the mean time to recovery is something you need similar, like in case of time tracking, lead time, you need time tracking. In terms of MTTR, you need a strong discipline to have your incident tracking in place. But change failure rate is something that gives you the most ROI in terms of the complexity of its implementation. It exactly needs no implementation, I would say, because if any new deployment that is going inside your going live in your production, and if it is failing, so you can simply add it in numbers. Like, okay, in last 10 deployments, you had 3 deployments that rolled back or failed, right? So there's something brutally honest, I would say. So you can't exactly fake it. So if you say 30% of deployment are failing, like 3 out of 10 are failing, it's simply 30% of deployment failure. I mean, that actually gives you full clarity without faking or without having a lot of instrumentation tracking in place. Now, one more thing, like it also gives you point of conversation, or say it shifts your conversation the right way.
Mhm.
Uh, are faster releases, say, destroying our stability? So is it like, is it something I should be focusing upon? Which, I mean, is it faster release, or is it stability? So what matters most to me, right? So whether it could be better testing, whether it could be um, a more better rollback practices, what my engineering hygiene actually needs. So it gives you that conversation as well, like, to have quick releases or to have stable releases.
No, you are right. And I think that's one metric which also gives you the validation. For example, you might be
Yeah.
ready from the deployment perspective, but if your infrastructure is not up to the mark, or maybe if you are still maintaining the legacy where the infrastructure is getting down, and also all these things it can help you with. And yeah, so eventually from
So
this.
it's simply like I mean, um, speed without stability is just a scheduled chaos. So you're running Ferrari at 300, but if your road had potholes, so it will never reach the destination.
No, you are right. And as you said, like the other metrics, sometime also like that developer can make it. I can do like 10 commits in a day, but even if like it
Yeah,
didn't release a feature for the user, to me it is not kind of the release actually, which
right.
you can measure. Cool.
Yeah,
No, so we went with very large answers, and those were very interesting. I wanted to go with some quick question and answer format. And let's start it with
yep.
one of the most legacy tool is Jenkins. Do you think is it still reliable and even useful today, or it is a very old legacy technical debt?
So Jenkins, I would say it's a workhorse with gray hair. It's just
Mhm.
like a senior developer in your team who knows about every edge case.
Mm.
So it's not glamorous, although like the modern tools, but it's battle-hardened, I would say. So I mean, my recommendation is if you are already on it, and it's working for you, for it's solving your use case. So you don't. That's no need for rewriting it for just for the sake of friends or going into the other tools. Just go for a balance. What suits you the most? What suits your requirement the most? Whether it could be flexibility, a shared responsibility, but yeah, just adopting for a tool, not just Jenkins. In any tool, if you're adopting it, see whether it is matching or it is adhering to your requirement.
No, I agree, and that's why we see like even still,
Yeah.
many companies are using it. So it is cool. So any other open source tool within the CI/CD space which you say an DevOps engineer should learn right now if he hasn't done yet?
Yeah. If I talk about one open source tool, so it's just Kubernetes. So I mean, although it now don't directly fall in CI/CD space, but yes, at last you are having their deployment on Kubernetes. So it's just not for the developers. It's not for the DevOps. Even I would say developers should have a knowledge around it. So yeah, Kubernetes is something I'll choose among every single tool.
Now, and I think, see, Kubernetes is still your managed infrastructure. So even though you might, even if like you are just focused heavily on the CI/CD part, you should know how does it work, how does it break, what are the release cycle, how does like the new configurations are coming up. So it is a worth time invest.
Yes.
Okay. So, Sajal, those were the question and the point in my mind which I wanted to discuss with you. Is there a piece of advice you would like to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, there are a lot. But yeah, one thing I just want to say that see, being DevOps is just not about the tools. You can take any space, CI/CD, containerization, or configuration automation. It's just not about the tools. Tools come. I mean, I see a frequency like every couple of years you are presented with a new tool. So it's more about building your systems that are more observable, that are more recoverable, and boring itself. So the boring production should be your goal. Any sort of excitement in production is a bad sign.
I agree. I think you really summarized it very well because the tool space is definitely going to get changed. And even with the AI,
Yep.
you'll see these tools are coming very faster and then also they are exiting very faster. And the DevOps space is something which will keep on evolving. For example, nowadays we see
Yes.
more and more application or the developer is writing an AI code. So you need to be educated even in the AI space to handle this, how you can bring all these part, how you can handle same number of like, or maybe like a 2 or 3x number of deployment, even with the same set of engineers.
Right. I mean, you should be, I would say, considering as your productivity booster. So it's just not like a, a judgment replacement, but yes, it should be a productive multiplier. I mean, the way you are, I mean, the checks that I just mentioned in the pipeline that should happen itself in the system itself, in the ID itself. Yeah.
All right, Sajal, thanks a lot for joining us and sharing
Yeah.
your experience in the CI/CD space and overall, the DevOps as well as the cloud infrastructure.
Thanks, Kuldeep. Thanks for having me here, and it's been a very, very enlightening discussion. So thank you.
That's it for this episode of Techie Talks with Kuldeep. Until next time, keep learning and keep innovating. Thank you for watching.